Hey everybody. With me today is Clinton Donnelly, who's the president of Crypto Tax Audit. Clinton, great to have you on.
Hey, it's great to be here, Tony.
Clinton, tell us about yourself. Tell us about your background.
Well, I am an enrolled agent. I have a law degree, and my company is Crypto Tax Audit. We have about 25 employees. We have our experience has been preparing crypto tax returns. We've been doing those since 2018, and we do the gain calculation of the income, and then we prepare the tax return using our bulletproof return methodology.
Sure.
At this point in time, all our clients are very high net worth crypto investors or key influencers. Yeah, we have some of the largest influencers in the U.S. are our clients.
So what you're saying is you handle whales.
Yes, we pretty much handle whales. We have whales and krakens. So people with over 10 million in assets, we call them krakens.
Wow. How did you build that customer database, so to speak, or get that type of clientele?
In 2018, one of my clients who had been doing taxes for a couple of years, he'd been about 2 years out of college. I prepared his tax returns. In 2018, I let him know that I was getting into crypto taxes. I was working with a company that was doing that, and he said, "Well, Clinton," he said, "we need to talk because I made a lot of money in cryptos." Yeah. We talked. He made 16 million.
Wow.
In 2017 trading cryptos.
Wow.
I mean, he was probably like 24. All right.
Good for him.
And he said, "I want to pay the taxes on it." We did the calculation. And he voluntarily paid $6 million of taxes.
Wow.
His attitude was, if I don't pay them, the IRS will come and get me.
Oh, yeah.
And we've always taken this attitude with our clients. We just, it's just best to report everything. At this point in time, we've done 3,000 crypto tax returns, and none of them have been audited by the IRS.
Wow.
And that's because we developed all our tax returns, even before we did crypto, were what we call complex. People that were living outside the U.S. had foreign corporations, anti-money laundering reporting obligations. We've always done a complex tax return. Sure. And we just transfer all that into doing a crypto tax return. So we now have a methodology. We call it the bulletproof return methodology. You report all the income, you claim all the expenses or all the losses, like an FTX would be a loss. You claim all these things.
Right.
You also report the anti-money laundering forms. If you trade on foreign exchanges, or let's say non-US exchanges, you need to declare this. And we also do a disclosure statement to let the IRS know that we're doing certain things. This avoids audit opportunities. Okay. And then we also recommend people have an audit defense strategy, because the IRS has become very aggressive now at auditing people.
Well, weren't they given a budget to hire 90,000 IRS agents or something like that?
Yes. and just to put it in context, the IRS is the income side of the U.S. government, right?
Sure.
They bring in about $4 trillion in revenue to the U.S. The IRS commissioner this year went forward to Congress and said, "I can bring in $1 trillion more if you give me the money to go after enforcement on digital asset owners." In August 16th, government said yes. Biden signed the law, and now they have an immense amount of money. How much money they have? It's 8 times the budget of the FBI.
Wow.
It's 3 times the amount of money the U.S. government spends each year on the war on drugs.
Wow.
Who are they going after? Congress is weaponizing the IRS to go after digital asset owners like us. So it behooves everybody to do the best you can to report your taxes, and to have a strategy when the IRS does come knocking.
When they come knocking.
Because they're going to go after a lot of people who are non-reporting.
Right.
They're also going to go after people who are doing good. And the IRS can't distinguish that until the audit's over. Even then, they can't tell.
Yeah, it's just been really tricky to navigate the crypto tax situation. I know primarily it's capital gains taxes you're paying, but are there other layers to it? And when you include NFTs as well?
Well, part of the pain is for most crypto investors, this is the first time they've got into investing. If you had been investing in stocks, you pay tax on the gains, right? So it already been in your mind. But for a lot of crypto investors, they don't know. They're just giddy with the fact they've made lots of money. And like I had one investor, very large well-known person, and he owes 800,000 because he forgot he'd have to pay tax on one of his large transactions. He just didn't think about it. He's an artist.
Yeah.
So this is how we learn. I mean, like, now let's talk about simple tax rules. Anytime you sell or exchange an asset, you experience a gain or loss, which is taxable. Now, it doesn't really matter what you trade it for. You could trade it for another token.
Right.
You could trade it for stable coins. You could trade it for fiat. It does not matter. All right.
It's taxable event.
You're experiencing a gain or loss on that asset. And at the end of the year, we net it out. We subtract all the losers from all the gains to come out with a net gain or net loss, and you pay tax on that bottom line amount. This is a big year. It's 2022. A lot of people have lost money.
Right.
If you have losses, there's a silver lining of a loss, is it reduces your taxes on your gains.
Yes.
So I had a guy call me up. He goes, this is a year before. He said, I've made $1 million this year. I'm afraid I can't pay, paying the taxes. I said, well, what had happened in your previous years? He goes, well, I lost money the 2 prior years. How much money did you lose? He goes, I lost 400,000 in 2018. I lost 600,000 in 2019, but I never reported it because I didn't want to tell my wife. I think it was a doctor. And now in 2021, he goes, I made $1 million and I'm really terrified about it. I got great news for you. You lost $1 million beforehand. That completely offsets the gain that you made this year. And he said, you're going to pay almost nothing in taxes.
Oh, wow.
Losses have a silver lining, and they help you reduce your taxes.
Sure. So you want to report, to your point, everything, losses and everything.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And I think the tricky part that you mentioned, when you go from asset to asset, let's say you go from Bitcoin to Ethereum, that is a taxable event, right?
It is.
And stable coins too.
Now, what is it priced at? It's priced at the fair market value in US dollars at the time that the trade happens. All right. So you bought Ethereum at 1,000. It goes up to 1,400, and you then switch it over and you buy Tron. Okay.
Sure.
So the fair market value at the time you did that, 1,400, is basically the price that you sold the Ethereum for, and you bought the Tron for. Is that price? That's the price that everything on taxes is done in terms of US dollars.
Interesting. Now, your services, is it just the US, or are you working with clients around the world?
I have clients in 71 countries. They're all US taxpayers, though.
Okay.
All right. So I have a lot of big taxpayers in Japan, in Singapore, some in China they have tax obligations in these countries. As a U.S. taxpayer, you have to pay taxes on your on your worldwide income, regardless of where you live in the world. We're unique that way.
So are you expecting 2023 to be insane, given, we're coming off of the bull market, we're in a bear market now, but it's time to report for 2022?
Well, I do taxes because, I'm not a really good investor. I've done day trading. I've lost some good money. But I do talk to a lot of people that are good at investing. I have a lot of clients in 2022 who made a lot of money.
Yeah.
Because it's how they trade. If you're like a value trader, yeah, you lost money.
Right.
But a lot of people are like hodlers, like all the Bitcoiners that hodl. It's down now, but they believe it's going to go up. All right. You don't get taxed. There's no tax on unrealized gains or losses. Only when you realize it, when you sell it.
Sure.
When I talk to my wealthier people, they generally believe it's going to be down through most of 23, and they don't see any recovery until really towards the end of 23 into 24. A lot of them, I will admit, are Bitcoiners who believe that, the halving will be the cycle that turns it around.
Right.
If we go back to, in 2018, the market went down much like it has this year. And 2019 was kind of a fluctuating year, mainly flat on the whole. And I think there's no reason why 2023 wouldn't be the same. 2024, I think it's going to be a great year. Now is absolutely the best time to dollar cost average into the market.
Absolutely. As far as the industry, the market growing, the industry growing, a lot more people participating now. Have you seen an influx of clients? Like, oh my God, you give some examples of your clients. I made money. What do I do? How do I calculate this? I did DeFi, I did NFTs. Are you guys overwhelmed a little bit?
uh, Calculating taxes is extremely complicated. The tools are pathetic out there. If you're a trader on decentralized exchanges or NFTs, it is the primary gain calculation tools are really of no value, almost no value. I will say this, you can use those gain calculation services like Token Tax, Coin Ledger, all these guys.
Sure.
Where you're pouring in lots of little numbers, trying to blow it up to the correct number. I'll just tell you right now, and I could document it.
Sure.
None of them are correct. All right. Let's say none of them agree. Let me put it that way. None of them agree. What I can say, especially if you're in DeFi or NFTs, these services just won't make any sense. What you need to do, what your listeners need to do, is that when you're filing your taxes, you got to go right here. What do I believe I made?
Sure.
And if you say, hey, I think I made 75,000, my gut feeling, as I think about it on the back of a napkin calculation, I think I made 75,000 net gain. All right. You might be using TaxBit. It might be saying you had $500,000 in gain, or use some other one says you has a loss. You don't know what to do. Go with what you believe, because it's the number you believe in. And you'll pay a fair tax for an income that you believe in.
Sure.
Now I can say this: that nobody's defended more people in crypto audits than I have. I mean, I've defended 40 taxpayers in audits before the IRS of their cryptos.
Right.
And I can say this with confidence that if you've reported, done your best effort to report how much income you've made from your cryptos, I'm pretty sure I can win that audit, because I don't have to prove to tax court that your number's right. I just have to prove at tax court that the IRS is wrong. And they wrestle with all the same challenges you have. They don't have any more information than you have. And when they do their calculation, they don't even understand what you did. They're not talking to you. They're doing it in the dark,
right.
And they can't calculate it out. But I'm pretty sure I can almost always win, which is the service we're trying to offer people. I can't do everyone's tax returns, but at least I can defend lots of people.
Right. So, on that note with the IRS, they don't really know what's going on. It's been kind of muddy. You expect that they will launch certain tools or services to help the industry and people, or government is usually slow, but you think we might see something 2023?
All right, so the primary way the IRS decides who they're going to audit is they determine who is underreporting their income.
Okay.
The way they determine income is what they call total positive income. Positive income is like the example we just had. I sold the Ethereum for 1,400.
Right.
They're not worried about the fact you got it for 1,000. I had 1,400. If you're a frequent trader, you got a lot of these trades. That's the positive number. It's not how much you made. It's just the sales value of all the things you sold. High frequency traders are going to have much higher numbers. Now, they look at that and they combine it with any 1099 or in your W-2 information.
Sure.
And they expect to see on your tax return a total positive income that's equal to the amount that they know about or greater. That's what they want. All right. If your tax return does not report as much as they know about, then you're flagged by the audit computers and they're going to come after you. Now, the IRS knows about a lot of your income, the W-2s, 1099s, K-1s if you have partnerships.
Right.
How do they know about your crypto trader? They don't know how much you profited, but they can calculate your total positive income. At this point in time, you should reasonably accept that the IRS has trading history information from all the major exchanges in the U.S.
Right.
They at this point in time, you should even though when you created that account you didn't do KYC, they know who you are now. All right.
Yeah.
They know your email address. They backtracked all this stuff. They have a database.
Yes.
All right. And they don't know how much profit you made, but they can calculate total positive income that they expect to see. So this is how they're auditing. They can still go back and audit 2017. So this is a down year. A lot of people are like, oh, I don't want to do my taxes. It's a down year. They're not auditing this year. They're auditing you in 2017. They're auditing in 2019 and 20. These are the years they're going after.
Yeah.
So just because this was a bad year doesn't mean you're not exposed to the past, right? And they can go back 6 years if you're underreporting your income. They can go back 6 years to go to flag and audit you.
Oh man.
So they got these numbers. What they're going to do, you asked my opinion how they're going to do enforcement. Auditing is time consuming. It's the results are a little bit unclear. What they're doing, and they played their hands in the tax law case. They basically want to do enforcement. They're hiring criminal enforcement. Here's how criminal enforcement works. They look and they decide you didn't report massive amounts of income. They think it's willful. 2 guys will show up at your door. These are the guys with the guns and the badges. And they'll say, can we talk to you? All right. Would you come down to our office and talk? All right. That's what happens. This happened to one of my clients. He became my client after he was convicted. So they came down, they talked to him about his taxes. They demanded his transactional records, his bank records. They got all this stuff. He had never traded any of his, he got all his Bitcoin from one source. These Bitcoin had never been on a centralized exchange. He never traded on a centralized exchange. There's no reason why the IRS should ever know his wallet address. They did discover his wallet address. They dusted his wallet address with Satoshis. Satoshis are the smallest amount of a Bitcoin, right?
Right.
They're like pennies, like fractions of pennies.
Right. Fractions.
So if you wanted to move, $10, with the way Bitcoin's designed, it's like change. You pick, I need one of these, and 5 of these, and that's how you pay.
Right.
So every transaction he has at least one of the Satoshis that the IRS had dropped on his account. 2 years later, he gets a phone call from a U.S. Department of Justice district attorney. Says, just want to let you know, we're going to indict you for tax evasion.
Scary stuff.
So the indictment comes, it's a formal indictment. It basically says, because of this, we're charging you with tax evasion. The penalty is $250,000 and 3 years in jail.
Wow.
Now, he knows he didn't report it, right?
Right.
So there's no audit here. They don't even have to prove how much you didn't report. They just have to say, we know that you didn't report at least 10,000. That's all they have to say. At this point in time, my client, he wasn't with this guy. He went to 2 experienced criminal tax attorneys, described the situation. Both attorneys said, your best hope is a good plea deal because you have no defense.
Wow.
It's our calculations that, we know from the Gemini Foundation, there's 33 million taxpayers that are crypto traders. We also know from IRS data, only about 7 million are checking yes to that question on the tax return. Did you have virtual currencies, right?
Right.
That means we're looking at a neighborhood of 26 million taxpayers who are not reporting their cryptos, maybe not even filing a tax return. This is how easy, this is what criminal enforcement, the IRS is looking like. They're beefing up. Sure. They're not beefing up, but they will get more auditors, but they're doing criminal enforcement. Why? It's cheaper. It's quicker. And not only do they get all your tax money, you still have to file a tax return, right, but they're also getting that $250,000 and they're going to throw you into jail. When they throw you into jail, they only have to leave you there for a day. This client spent 6 months, but they only have to leave you there. Once you agree to that plea bargain, agree to 1 year in prison.
Wow.
He said for the rest of his life, he's a felon. When you're a felon, you cannot work in certain professions. Right. Have you ever been convicted of a felony on the tax? Yeah. If you're in the finance industry, if you're in the military, working for the government, working for the state government, you can't do any of these things because you're a felon. Yeah. And he said, and this is really, it's just very sobering. He said, you're a felon the rest of your life. He said, if I get pulled over for going a couple miles over speed limit, Tony, he said, officer takes my license, finds out I'm a felon, says, what do you think the odds are you get off with a warning? For the rest of his life, he's getting the raw end of the deal.
Wow.
And he ended up paying far more than he tried to avoid. So this is, you asked me how they're doing it. This is how they're going to do it, and they're going to crush a lot of people. It's going to be very painful.
Quick question: is the threshold where they start? You're put into maybe the top tier. Is it 10 grand or more than that?
It's hard for the IRS to know. All right. I mean, you can have people that have traded $4 million and lost money. I had one client, he had Coinbase said he did $4 million. We did the gain calculation. We calculated he had lost $17,000. Right?
Oh, okay.
So the difference between the proceeds and the net gain calculation. The IRS does not know what the gain is.
Okay.
They just say, hey, look, you had $4 million of income and you didn't report it.
Wow. It's just, it's so tricky because there are a lot of people, I think, to your point, who don't think they have to report it or do anything, or they didn't cash it out to fiat, to a US dollar. They just moved it to another crypto and they think it's not a tax.
They don't think that, I mean, yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Everything's now. When I describe that vast number of people, 26 billion out of roughly 160 million taxpayers, most of these are in the millennial generation. We are, and this, as they continue to have more and more crypto investors in the millennial generation and continue this pattern of underreporting, we're swiftly moving to a position within about 2 years where possibly one half of the millennial generation is de facto tax evaders. and not caught, not captured, but they're in that danger spot. At the same time, while Congress has weaponized the IRS to come after them without realizing that you're attacking tomorrow's voters, you're attacking the financial base of the country, and if enough pain happens, I mean, there could be some serious societal backlash in this area. We need Congress to change the laws. This is just ridiculous the way we tax these things.
Sure.
Also, what we need, and this would be my cry, we need tax amnesty for underreporting of cryptos in prior years. We need tax amnesty.
Yeah.
It's basically, the strategy would be in the past, if he can come clean on a couple past years, then we'll forgive all the years prior. We need that. We need to have a way to get people back into compliance. Otherwise, you're going to take a whole generation to be alienated from the government.
Yeah. And not to mention like some of the Gen Z who are dabbling in meme coins and all that stuff.
Oh yeah, just making silly money.
Yeah.
This is what we need. And it's my heartbeat. I mean, when I interviewed my client, when he came to me after he got convicted, because he had to file all his past tax returns. It was one of the most heartbreaking things. We did a record, and he said the hardest thing he had to do in his life was to leave his kids and go into the prison.
Oh yeah.
Just destroyed them.
Can't imagine.
And that's whether it's your parents, your kids, or just past. I mean, you've entered in a new state of life.
Yeah.
You're forever associated with Breaking Bad.
Yeah. It's crazy, and I'm just thinking, like, I personally have used like TaxBit and these platforms, and my accountant, sometimes she has a tough time with it, but I need to talk to you.
Hey, everybody needs to talk to me. I'm not really looking to do with people's tax returns. I got
right.
We're swamped, but I want to give advice. So if you go to my website, cryptotaxaudit.com,
right.
If you want a private consultation, you can schedule a consultation. We can talk through those things. One of the things I've tried to do, Tony, is, my heart just breaks for people who are in a desperate situation, can't get out of it, or can't get a tax preparer to help them, because there are very few who know. What we've come up with is basically insurance for your tax return. The IRS audits you on your crypto reporting for any year while you're a member. We will defend you for no additional charge.
Oh, wow.
And this is like a 2 or 4 year commitment in an audit.
Sure.
So we'll defend you all the way through the audit, appeals, on up to tax court. We'll recalculate your gains for the tax year that's being audited. We will do all the communications with the IRS, the legal appeals, solicitations. Talk to the IRS. You don't have to. We'll attack the IRS calculations, which is a key defense aspect, and we will do all the proceedings to get you into tax court, which is really where all these audits end up.
So I love that service and insurance, because especially if you're making a lot of money with crypto, you kind of want to have that, right? Because it's like, who knows what the hell the IRS is gonna come
Exactly.
after.
And it's about $3,000 a month. You can pay monthly or annually, and you have that peace of mind. Because a real audit, if you have to pay auditors, I mean, you're really, depends upon how much they want to, take you to, and there's a real shortage of people here.
Sure.
You're easily into $50,000 to $80,000 just for the defense, let alone have to pay the taxes afterwards.
Sure.
And of course, I'll just tell you right now, all audits, an audit is the IRS's chance to think what their opinion is. All right. Doesn't mean they're not the judges. Right?
Okay. Yeah.
They just get to express their opinion.
Sure.
You don't get to talk to a judge until you go to tax court. And that's when you talk to the adult in the room.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So you have to, it broke my heart today. It was a Monday. I was in the New York tax court. It wasn't my case. It was somebody else's case. Just as I walked in, this elderly Chinese couple were talking about to the judge. They didn't have any representation before tax court.
Wow.
And they said, Judge, they read a statement that said the IRS wants $2 million from them for 2019 and another $4 million for 2020.
Wow.
Because Coinbase reported some information. They said, Judge, Coinbase numbers are wrong, which they always are. IRS is just wrong. All they said was the IRS is wrong. The IRS is wrong. The IRS is wrong. That's just your opinion. All right.
Yeah.
And these people are about to be destroyed financially. I can win that case. I could win that case. Ran out and gave them my card. I don't know if they'll call me, but
right.
But no, I could win that case. But this is sad because this is what's going to happen again and again and again on audits. I've had 2 audits. They all come up with the 2 million. Another one's 1.5 million.
Wow.
We had one that IRS came up with $1.5 million of extra taxes. We came back. So we looked at the IRS numbers and attacked them. We found over 300 errors.
Wow.
So that's how we win. Anyhow, but our audit defense service is really very affordable, and especially if have over 100,000 in assets.
Sure.
And it's really, if you have over $200,000 in assets, you're the type of person that's going to be more likely for an audit. If you're less,
right.
IRS does not want to bother with the small person. It takes just as much energy to go after, grandpa's 20,000 as it does somebody else's 20 million.
Sure.
So that's really more the risk factor.
Yeah, I definitely need to talk to you then and get that insurance.
Right. We're going to talk privately later. Right? Have a little come to Clinton time.
Yeah.
All right.
Clinton, pleasure. Really great advice and insight. Appreciate it.
Hey, it's a pleasure, Tony. Thanks so much for having me on.
Awesome.